Okay, it's 46 minutes past the hour. Wednesday, May 1st. Wow. And it's still cold out there. Thought we'd do a little review of one of the greatest accomplishments of Christ's work on the cross. And that is that one thing Christ accomplished on the cross is that he revealed God's righteousness. God's righteousness. So, allow me to, we're going to get to verse 21. That's where the cool stuff is. And there's a preview of Romans 3:21 in chapter 1, verse 17, which says, for in it, God's righteousness is being revealed out of faith for faith, according as it is written, now the just one by faith shall be living. And we got the words just one capitalized because it's kind of apparent that the just one is Christ. What does it mean that Jesus Christ will be living by faith? Does he live by our faith? Or does he live by his own faith? Or does he live by the faith of God? Anyway, just for some context, we'll look back all the way up to the beginning of chapter 3. What then is the prerogative of the Jew? Or what the benefit of circumcision? Good question, a rhetorical question, right? Probably has everything to do with what he was going on about in chapter 2. What then is the prerogative of the Jew, or what the benefit of circumcision? Much in every manner. Much in every manner. What is the benefit of circumcision? What is the prerogative of the Jew? Much in every manner. Okay, even if we don't read verse 2 or the following part of verse 2, we just stick with much in every manner. You got to scratch your heads and say, what is Paul going on about? Well, he is showing that God is kind of has a soft spot in his heart for Israel because they are his chosen people, chosen for a purpose. But what is the prerogative of the Jew? Or what the benefit of circumcision? Much in every manner. For first, indeed, they were entrusted with the oracles of God. Uh-oh. Let me adjust my audio. Thank you for telling me that. Oh, I can see another problem too. So that's my sure mic. All right. So is that much better, Gabe? 10 10 10 3 3 3 9 9 9. Giving me a sound check, sound check, sound check. Testing 1 2 3 4. Much better. Okay, good. All right, let me start over. So I'm going to try and contend that that one of the great accomplishments of Christ's work on the cross was that displayed God's righteousness. God's righteousness was manifest by Christ's work on the cross. Okay, and so we're going to see that in verse 21 and 22. And I said, okay, well, let's back up to chapter 3, verse 1. See if we can pull any context and help us understand where Paul is going with this argumentation. What then is the prerogative of the Jew? Or what is the benefit of circumcision? Much in every manner. So, and of course, he explains much in every manner because he says those guys were entrusted with the oracles of God. God doesn't speak to us through the Aztecs, the Incas, the Anastasi. God doesn't speak to us through the U.S. government. God entrusted the oracles to Israel. And so they might have an argument that they've got a prerogative. They got first dibs on the love and affection of God. What the benefit of circumcision? Okay, well, Paul is giving them some hat tip here. But in chapters 1 and 2, he does go on and on about how even the Jews who are saying don't commit adultery, they commit adultery. And it does go on about saying that because of you Jews, the name of God is being blasphemed because you say that you've got the law, you love the law, you preach the law, but you don't live up to it. Later on in chapter 5, verse 20, Paul reveals that God gave the law that sin might increase. So we've got this storyline developing, a conundrum before us. Do we embrace the law like Israel? Well, they should embrace it. They've got first dibs on getting close with God. But they're being knuckleheads at the moment. Verse 3, what if they don't believe? Well, if they don't believe, big deal. Verse 3, will their unbelief nullify the faithfulness of God? Oh, no. Apparently, we can deduce just from this that the faithfulness of God is going to be displayed in spite of Israel. Hey, Justin. Hey, Gabe. Oh, feel free to hit the StreamYard link and come on in. I haven't pinned it to the top just yet. Allow me to do that so that I don't have to bother with it again. Click, click, click. There we go. Now it should be pinned to the top. Okay, so what if some of them, they're Jews, don't believe? Will their unbelief screw up the whole plan and purpose of God? No. No, the faithfulness of God is to charge ahead and not look back, shall we say. So when God said, when Paul wrote in the earlier section of this letter that because of you, the name of God is being blasphemed, I'm sure that there were some people who would say to the Jews, "You're a bunch of liars. You say to keep the law and you don't keep the law. You say, don't commit adultery and you commit adultery. You're a bunch of liars." Well, anyway, so will their behavior and unbelief and shameful lifestyle, shall we say, will that nullify the faithfulness of God? Well, I think we can say that God is carrying on in spite of humanity, in spite of humanity's weakness, in spite of humanity's faithlessness. Well, what if some disbelieve? Will their unbelief nullify the faithfulness of God? May it not be coming to that. Let me balance out the size of the text here. Now let God be true, yet every man a liar, including the Jews. Let them be liars. Now we know that there's no hope among the Gentiles because God didn't even show them any favor. He didn't entrust them with the oracles of God. Let God be true, and yet every man a liar, even as it is written, that so thou shouldst be justified in thy sayings. What sayings? The oracles of God. And shalt be conquering when thou art being judged. Being judged by whom? Maybe we can say judged by all humanity, judged by the Gentiles, and judged by the Jews, and there's nobody else left. So God will be conquering when everybody gets a little bit of persnicketiness and judges God. He will be conquering. And our unbelief will not nullify the faithfulness of God. He is going to accomplish his purpose. Verse 5, now if our injustice is commending God's righteousness, wow, what have we got here? Now you would think that our righteousness would commend God's righteousness. That would be a logical, man approved type of thing, right? Like that seems to be the message of Christianity. If you will be good and stop sinning, well, that would commend God's righteousness. But Romans 3:5 is really weird. It goes beyond that thinking. Remember, in the recent past, we've had episodes in here where we read Brother Knox's essay called Sin for Sin. And that we can make a biblical argument that God is not into the accounting mythology of mankind, because in the accounting mythology of mankind, they say 2 wrongs don't make a right. But we can use God's accounting system and say that 2 wrongs do make a right. Humanity does wrong, and then God does wrong by sending his son to the cross, and that makes all things right. Maybe we can wrap this verse 5 up in that thought, that our injustice is commending God's righteousness. Yes, it would make sense to say that our righteousness commends God's righteousness. You get what you sow. Karma, clean up your act and you'll get good stuff. But man, this language here is wild. That our injustice would commend God's righteousness. What shall we declare? Not that God, who is bringing on indignation, is unjust. As a man I am saying it, may not be coming to that. How else shall God be judging the world? Okay, so our injustice is commending God's righteousness, and I don't get the feeling that commending God's righteousness is is a bad thing here, like the Christian vocabulary where they say, God is going to punish all those, and that would be His righteousness to punish. No, the vocabulary here sounds like something really wonderful. God's righteousness is wonderful. And how does it show up in our lives? Well, it shows up apparently, according to verse 5, because of our injustice. And then Paul has to take a breather in the rest of verse 5 and verse 6. Back up just a bit and say, yes, God is going to judge the world. But it's not what you think. If it is what you think, well, then we have to back up to verse 3. Their unbelief will not nullify the faithfulness of God. You can sit there for a little bit, Catherine. I'll bring you in a bit. What if some disbelieve? Will not their unbelief nullify the faithfulness of God? This is really weird. This is not tit for tat. God doesn't seem to be concerned with humanity, with the Jews, with the Gentiles. He's not dependent on the Jews and the Gentiles being good little boys and girls. He is not dependent on them having faith in His operation. God is God. And in the Christian vocabulary, they say you must repent, you must believe, you must do this and this and this. But this is not the vocabulary of Paul. If you don't believe, no problem. Move along. That's not the point. That's not the issue. The faithfulness of God is about to be revealed in chapter 3. And we're going to get to verse 21 to see it. Now let God be true, yet every man a liar, even as it is written, so thou shouldst be justified in thy sayings, and shalt be conquering when thou art being judged. Yeah, it would make sense for humanity, the humanity that says two wrongs don't make a right. They would judge God. They don't have a choice. Their brains can't see the big picture. Now, if our injustice is commending God's righteousness, oh man, this is so good. Can you just wrap your arms around verse 5 and pull it in close? Our injustice is commending God's righteousness. This is what we want. We want God's righteousness. We don't really want our righteousness because you know what? We've already experienced, or most of us on this channel have already experienced a lot of Christianity. And when we fancy that we are righteous, it does seem to come along with a bunch of self-righteous pride. And we're so proud of ourselves for being righteous. And can we forsake that mentality, that understanding, and say, I don't care much about my righteousness. Tell me about God's righteousness. If our injustice is commending God's righteousness, whoa, what do we have here? What should we declare? What do we have? What's going on? Not that God, who is bringing on indignation, is unjust. Oh, yeah, because you would think that God would be unjust if He brought a little bit of indignation on humanity. Well, humanity deserves it. They're going to get exactly what they deserve, but that's irrelevant because our injustice is actually producing something big and wonderful. It's commending God's righteousness. And can we say that Jesus Christ is God's righteousness? Not that God, who is bringing on indignation, is unjust. As a man, I'm saying it, man, I'll be coming to that. How else shall God be judging the world? Well, it is part of God's plan to judge the world. But that's just a part of God's plan. It's not the whole thing. The whole thing is to reveal the faithfulness of God and to reveal his righteousness, which is commended by our own silly little injustice. How else shall God be judging the world? Romans 3:7. Yet if the truth of God superabounds in my life for his glory, why am I still being judged a sinner? Okay, this is a strange and puzzling verse, and I'm sure that most of us don't understand the cadence of the argument here, because there's a bunch of super righteous Jews who were really pissed at Paul's message, because remember, they're part of the circumcision evangel and they've got their thing. Paul comes along and he starts preaching to the Gentiles and getting the Gentiles to revere God apart from the law. So Paul is, it seems to me that in verse 7, he is addressing those Jews who are really pissed at his brand of truth. And they are calling Paul a liar. Because Paul is getting the Gentiles to revere God apart from the law, and they're calling Paul all kinds of nasty things. They're calumniators, right? They're blaspheming Paul's message. They infect Paul's churches with that James gang business, which is what the book of Galatians is all about. And so who is calling Paul a liar? I think it's those guys in the context of where we're all going with this. If the truth of God superabounds in my lie for his glory, why am I still being judged as a sinner? Remember, over in Galatians, he also says that the James gang have this nasty habit of calling Paul a sinner. And it has to do with the cross and the efficacy of the cross. And we're going to get to the same idea here in chapter 3 of Romans. Verse 8. Why not say according as we are calumniated? Who are the people who calumniate Paul? It wasn't the Gentile world, the Roman government, the governors, the shoemakers, the sandal makers. They didn't give a crap about Paul. The only people who were inclined to calumniate Paul were the Jews, who were trying to protect their racket. According as we are calumniated, and according as some are averring that we are saying that we should be doing evil, that good may be coming. Oh my God, this has to be the same James gang boys. That's what they're saying about us. I'm including us today in with Paul. This is a accusation. This is a calumniation. This is extreme gossip. It's not true. We don't say that you should be doing evil, that good may be coming. But look at the next words on verse 8. Whose judgment is fair? It's understandable that they would be not understanding the evangel of grace. They would look at what we're doing and how we're talking and how we're enjoying God apart from the law. And they're saying, you're saying that we should be doing evil, that good may be coming, like a bunch of whining bitches. We're not saying that, but we are enjoying grace and revering God apart from the law. We don't care about the law. And yes, the law says don't be doing evil, and we don't care about the law. We are recipients of grace. And Paul is going to say way down in verse 31 that it is we, the Gentile boys and girls, who make the law look good. The Jews don't make the law look good. They make the law look awful. because Romans 5:20 says the law was given that sin might increase. And so who's the greatest sinners among us? It's the Jewish guys. It's the legalists. It's the James gang. They're mean and full of calumny and backstabbing. And it's a backstabbing thing to say. You're saying that we should be doing evil, that good may be coming. Well, good is going to come whether you do evil or not, because all is of God. Verse 9, what then? Are we privileged? Undoubtedly not. For we, Paul says, we previously charged both Jews and Greeks to be all under sin. Paul didn't leave out any Gentiles, and he certainly didn't leave out any Jews. All are under sin. There's a big problem that can only be solved by what Christ did on the cross, a grand display of grace and the purpose of God and the righteousness of God is displayed by Christ and the faith that took him to the cross. So we previously charged both Jews and Greeks to be all under sin, according as it is written, not one is just. Not one, not even one. Not one is understanding. Not one is seeking out God. All avoid him. These things are true. Look at everyone's life. Everyone just happens to be a knucklehead equally. And not one is understanding. Unless God gives you the understanding, you can't understand. Not one is seeking out God unless God lights a little fire under your butt to seek out God. It's not a thing that you would think to do. All avoid him. Yep. At the same time, they were useless. Oh, don't you love that? Paul calling all of humanity, Jews and Gentiles, useless. That's a highly insulting term, you know. Not one is doing kindness. There is not even one. Wow. A sepulchre opened is their throat. With their tongues they defraud. Now, isn't that a common experience with humanity? Even if they don't stab you in the back literally, they stab you in the back figuratively. With their tongues they defraud. The venom of mean snakes is under their lips, whose mouth with imprecation and bitterness is crammed. Sharp are their feet to shed blood. Oh, man, Paul must have gotten a hold of the newspapers, if they even still exist. He must have been logging into all the media and the alternative media, because this is a perfect comment on humanity. Their feet are sharp to shed blood. Bruises and wretchedness are in their way, and the way of peace they do not know, and there is no fear of God in front of their eyes. Now we are aware. Look, we're on verse 19. We're almost to verse 21. I hope you can feel the excitement. It's coming. There is no fear of God in front of their eyes. Now we are aware that whatever the law is saying, it is speaking to those under the law. Well, isn't that a fancy phrase? Whatever the law is saying, it is speaking to those under the law, that every mouth may be barred. Holy smoke. In other words, please shut up. Shut up. So Romans chapter 1, 2, and the majority of 3 is not a pretty section of scripture. It's just ripping humanity to shreds, and especially religious humanity. And he finally winds up the rip by saying, please shut up. Whatever the law is saying, it's speaking to those under the law. So move along. We're going to consider this big idea that God is being gracious to the Gentiles, revering God apart from the law. Please shut up. that the entire world may become subject to the just verdict of God. Verse 20. Because by works of law, do you see this? Because by works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight. Don't tell those legalistic guys this. Don't tell the James gang. Don't tell those Christians who have adopted Jewish mentality. Would be a forbidden verse. By works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight, for through law is the recognition of sin. That's as far as the law can go. It can't justify anyone. It's designed to bring us all down. It's a buzzkill. And as I said before, back when my mic was a little screwed up, chapter 1, verse 17 is a prelude to chapter 3, verse 21. So I jammed it all together here. For in it, God's righteousness is being revealed out of faith for faith, according as it is written, now the just one by faith shall be living. And again, the just one is Christ Jesus. He shall be living by faith. How does that work? What does that mean? It was faith that took Christ to the cross. Christ's faith in God took him to the cross, and God's faith in Christ raised him from the dead. There was a dynamic whirlpool of faith going on in this story that we have, that we affectionately call the cross of Christ. God's faith in Christ and Christ's faith in God. And our faith in the matter has almost nothing to do with the whole thing. Because as we just read in chapter 3, verse 3, we'll back up there again. For what if some disbelieve? Will their unbelief nullify the faithfulness of God? It can't. Our unbelief can't nullify the faithfulness of God. Because God's faithfulness was displayed in the cross and the entombment and the resurrection. We've got some good stuff going on right before our eyes. May God give us the eyes to see what's going on and rejoice in what's going on. Okay, we're almost at verse 21. Get excited now. I am. Let me bump up the size again. Yet now. Okay, let's back up to 20. Because by works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight. For through law is the recognition of sin. Yet now, apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest. What a strong word. Apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest, being attested by the law and the prophets. So the law and the prophets cannot deny what's going on. They can only give a hat tip to what's going on. Apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest, yet a righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all. What a treasure chest. It wasn't that Jesus Christ had faith for himself. He had faith in God for all. Man, we just can't plumb the depths of this. Jesus Christ's faith for all covers all. Our faith is irrelevant in this grand scheme of things. Jesus Christ has faith for all, and this righteousness of God is made manifest through Jesus Christ's faith for all. And guess what? It's on all who are believing, for there is no distinction between the believing and the unbelieving. It just so happens to be on all at the moment who are believing, but it's for all. They'll just have to come in later. It's a time constraint thing, but that's almost irrelevant because the power of this whole message and revelation of the manifestation of the righteousness of God came through Jesus Christ's faith, his faith for all. And as if we didn't get it, in verse 21 and 22, Paul continues with 23 to show how it's very difficult to plumb the total meaning and depth of this, because in 23 he says, for all sinned. So Jesus Christ's faith is for all. It's on all who are believing. And he also says there's no distinction between the believing and the unbelieving, for all sinned. Well, that's why there's no distinction between the believing and the unbelieving, for all sinned. And since we've got all 3 times here in the passage on verses 22 and 23, it's easy enough to see the ellipsis is brought in. We just don't need to use the word all, but I put it in because this is the power of Jesus Christ's faith for all sinned, and all are wanting of the glory of God, verse 24, and all are being justified gratuitously in his grace. That's how powerful of a picture we have with this manifestation of the rightness of God. It was right of God to send Christ to the cross. What does it accomplish? It accomplishes the manifestation of God's righteousness. Christ's work on the cross accomplishes the manifestation of God's righteousness. It is right of God to justify all gratuitously. Verse 24. It would not be right of God to justify some of us based on our works and what we do and our cooperation and our belief. That would be violating what he just said up here, that by works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight. If it were human thinking, if it were man-made religion, if it were up to us and our pagan thinking, our pagan religiosity, we would say that works of law justifies you. Come on, get it together. But by works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight, because now, apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest, being attested by the law and the prophets, yet a righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all, and on all who are believing, for there is no distinction, baby, for all sin, and all are wanting of the glory of God, and all are being justified. Finally, this is what we all want. We want to be justified in God's sight, and we will be justified in God's sight gratuitously in his grace through the deliverance which is in Christ Jesus. And as if that doesn't explain enough, 25, whom God purposed for propitiatory shelter through God's faith in his son's blood. See, you've got the faith of Christ, you got the faith of God. What other faith do you need? God had faith in his son's blood. Christ had faith in God. So much was accomplished there. It is mind-blowing. It will rattle your human religious belief system. This is how all are being justified gratuitously in his grace, whom God purposed for propitiatory shelter through God's faith in his son's blood for a display of his righteousness, because of the passing over of the penalties of sins which occurred before in the forbearance of God. We're almost done. Toward the display of his righteousness in the current era. in the current era is a little phrase. Let me put it in green. Come on there. So in the current era seems to rhyme with on all who are believing. So I'll put that in green because Jesus Christ's faith is for all. Now we've got this unique thought that some are experiencing it in a glorious way right now because some are believing. So it's for all, but it's on all who are believing toward the display of his righteousness in the current era. So this seems to be rhyming, a rhyme scheme of ideas here in the current era for him to be just and a justifier of the one who is of the faith of Christ. Okay, so where then is boasting? Oh, this is a reoccurring little phrase that Paul has throughout the scriptures. We see it in Galatians and Philippians and right here. Where is your boasting? Well, if righteousness were of the law, there'd be a lot to boast about. If righteousness were of your free will decisionism, there would be a lot to boast about. But right now in verse 27, he is concluding the argument by saying, we can't boast. This is nothing to do with us. We didn't contribute, and we certainly cannot inhibit what God is doing through Christ's cross. Where then is boasting? It is debarred. Through what law? Huh? Of works? But through a twist of language here, a double entendre, shall we say? This comes about through faith's law. He has just spent 3 chapters, chapters 1, 2, and 3, bad-mouthing the law, left and right, using the law as a punching bag. And now he uses the word law in association with faith. He's just taking it to a whole new level. There's no such thing as faith's law, except in this grand metaphoric way. So now we've switched it from being a list of rules to a divine principle like the law of gravity. It goes above and beyond anything that you could imagine. It's faith's law. Where then is boasting? It is debarred through what law? Of works? No, I've already established that. But through faith's law, for we are reckoning a man to be justified by the faith of Christ apart from works of law. Or is he the God of those who behave and obey the law only? Is he not of the nations? He also? Yes, he is the God of the nations also. If so be that God is one. There's no other God. There's no other program. God has a program that goes above and beyond the law. The law is a mild distraction. It was a nanny until Christ could show up and really manifest the righteousness of God. God is one, and he will be justifying the circumcision, whether they're in faith or out of faith, and he will be justifying the uncircumcision universe through faith, not through their own faith, but through the faith of Christ. Are we then nullifying the law through faith? He says, oh, silly, you're missing the whole point. May it not be coming to that. King James says, God forbid. The Aestheo classical version says, bite me. Are we then nullifying the law through faith? Bite me. We who believe and are participating in this grand faith of Christ, we make the law look good. We are sustaining law. We actually behave better than the Jews who are so prattling about the law. We don't steal like as much as they do. We don't have adultery like they do. We make the law look good. We are sustaining law. They make the law look bad because remember, just up in chapter 1, he said, because of you, the nations are blaspheming the name of God. You law guys, you're making the nations blaspheme the name of God. But we are sustaining law because we're not interested in the law. It's kind of like God has finally brought in that, what do you call it? Reverse psychology. Where you say, don't think about yellow cows. And what are you thinking about? You're thinking about yellow cows. And God says, don't covet. And what are you thinking about? You're thinking about coveting, because the mind cannot process a negative. And we have something gloriously positive revealed right here in chapter 3, verses 21 through 31. And we're sustaining law because we're not even caring about the law. We are revering God apart from the law. And if anybody associates the law with us, we make the law look good, but we don't care about the law. Now they care. Those Christian channels down the road, oh, they're all law all the time. And they even make up new laws. Like, you got to believe, got to speak in tongues, you got to be baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and so forth and so on. We make the law look good because we're not even interested in the law. We're just revering God because of what he did in the cross of Christ. Welcome, Catherine,
Hey, Ace.
and Red Pill.
How's things going, guys?
You just woke up, huh?
Who did? What?
You?
No, I've been up since 4:30 a.m. It's now 12:32 p.m.
Do you like this shirt, Ace?
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Is it okay to be a believer?
I believe
What do you believe?
that Christ was roused from among the dead, and this changes everything about everything.
You were just reading Romans 3, yeah?
Hey, you caught on, huh?
I did. What does he call Christ? The propitiation? For the passing over of sins?
You got a problem with that?
Oh, well. I don't have a problem with that, but I do wonder why he's referencing a Jewish feast day.
Can you get over it?
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you escape it?
No.
What does he call him in 1 Corinthians 15? The first fruit?
So what are you here for? To tell us that Christ accomplished nothing on the cross? You better get back to worshiping the feast days?
Oh, Christ accomplished the Passover on the cross, yeah?
And more?
Did he?
You obviously don't know. You just got here, huh?
I must be brand new to this. Can you tell me what else he accomplished on the cross?
The righteousness of God is now manifest because of the faith of Christ for all.
Is that the proper grammar, that it was manifest, or is it being made manifest in chapter 3?
Are you going to help us believe, or are you going to give us all kinds of fucking reasons not to believe that Christ accomplished anything good on the cross?
I think he accomplished something great at the cross. He fulfilled the Passover.
Something great.
One thing, huh?
Red. Oh my God, that's fucking funny. I'm sorry, just had to laugh.
Predators, anytime you hear something that references something for the Jews, you assume it limits to only being for the Jews, right? Not Paul just using that as a metaphor to explain what's going on.
Yeah, no. So that's the point. So if Paul, by association, is saying that Christ was the Passover, and he calls him the first fruits, so Paul is identifying Christ as the fulfillment of these feast days. At the cross, he fulfilled Passover. Nobody can doubt that. That's what Paul just said. He said that he was made the propitiation at the cross.
Right.
Well, that's directly harmonized with Leviticus, Exodus, and Numbers, where it talks about the feast days of Israel. Him being the being like the first fruit, that's in Leviticus 23. talks about verse 9 through 14, the
Right.
first fruits.
Hang on.
But the Passover is the
Listen,
Passover from
Listen,
death, right?
preterist, I have
Yeah.
told you before, when you come on, you're not allowed to quote Old Testament shit. You're not qualified. You want to be Jewish, go be Jewish, man. There's lots of black Israelites you can hang out with.
I'm not Jewish. Christ was Jewish. Paul was Jewish.
But if you
Christ
quote
was from the
anything
tribe of
else
Judah,
on
but
this
Israelites and
episode from the Old
Jews are different.
Testament, it's an instant kick out.
Okay.
If I just wanted to say real quick, because the Passover was the original Passover was the Passover of death from Egypt, right? Marking the doors so that the Spirit of God would not kill the occupants of the house, right? So they were passed over and not killed. And so Paul is saying this Passover is now for all humans that come after Adam that were condemned to death with no expectation of life. You know, he lays that out in Romans 5:18 through 20 or whatever. So yes, he is the propitiatory shelter and the Passover for all people now. He's the first fruit for all people, that all will be vivified. So yeah, Paul's using that language, but it doesn't limit it to a Jewish covenant. It's about life and death.
Yeah, that's the point. Paul says that the Colossians, right? You guys like Colossians because that's the ascended, blah blah blah, the final letters of Paul. But Paul says that in Colossians 2:16, let no one then judge you in eating or in drinking or in respect of a feast or of a new moon or of Sabbaths. Well, if you go back to Leviticus 23 and Exodus 23 and Numbers 16, it's all Christ is giving them is the feasts, the new moons, and the Sabbaths. And he says that they are a shadow of the.
I warned him.
He broke the only rule. Yeah.
The only rule, you're not allowed to quote Old Testament crap. Yet now, apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest, being attested by the law and the prophets, yet a righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all. Man, we got some good stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting that it doesn't matter that it's the same exact verse numbers, but Galatians 3:21 is where it says, if there was a law that could vivify, surely then righteousness were out of law.
Man, that's good. Quote it again.
If there was a law that were able to vivify, surely then righteousness were out of law. It kind of lines up directly with this, that there's no longer a righteousness through law, or a righteousness of God through Christ for all without law, basically, right? So
Yeah. But it should be obvious no one gets vivified by the law.
right.
Everybody dies from the law. The law, it seems like, was designed to kill you because nobody keeps it. So everybody's being brought before the judge, even the human judge. You broke the law. I was in a hurry, Judge.
And
Oh my
covenants are
God.
lawful things, right? And predators keep saying this is limited to being a covenant. So even if there was a covenant, that's still a lawful thing, and that law is not what vivifies. It's different than that.
Hey, Will Freeman, I got in trouble because of you today.
That's impossible. I wasn't anywhere near you.
Yeah, you had been in Linda's channel and then you disappeared, and somebody said something negative about you and that we should pray for you or something. And so I started praying. I put up a whole lot of, dear God, we know that you love Will Freeman. God bless Will Freeman and Marilyn Chambers, dear God.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry you got in trouble on my behalf.
Yeah, and it royally pissed off Bruce and his gang.
Yeah, he just chastised or tried to chastise me over at Linda's. I just popped in to ask about guitars to Rob Reed, and Bruce wanted to ask me about some drama, and so I left.
Good.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Sean.
Hey. Man, I was praying so hard that he mentioned something out of the Old Testament. Tell me God doesn't answer prayers. Don't tell me he doesn't.
Is there someone backstage?
Yeah, I kicked Preterist out because I told him not to quote from the Old Testament. He's not qualified.
Well, hi, preterist. You can't come in, but hi.
He's been in. He's had plenty of time in. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, I you don't have to explain it to me. I get it. I understand.
I feel
I'm not
sorry
gonna-
for him. Watering at this water hole. I don't know what he's doing. I'm trying to figure it out.
I still don't know why I come here. I have no idea. I just like the company.
Well, that's understandable for you. Man, I'm leaning towards sadomasochism for him.
He's drawn to Ace. Can't help it, like a moth to a flame.
That's okay. It's all right. I just got through work and I got a lot of adrenaline going through me still. So
Were you beating people up at work? Where's all this adrenaline coming from? What were you doing?
I thought when we talked about that, you said you weren't going to talk about that in public.
Well, I don't have anything against naked skydiving, but why do you have to wear the clown makeup? What does that prove?
I will talk to you later.
Okay, all right, fine. I appreciate all the videos though.
Ooh. Wow.
That's all false. Okay, I was just teasing him. That
Don't
there's no
lie.
videos.
Don't lie. Since you said it now, it's okay. Everyone's very forgiving here.
Naked clowns falling from the sky?
Hey, we all have our things, you know.
Let's try and get that out of your mind.
Well, I think the weirdest thing is using all those inflatable dolls as parachutes. That's revolutionary.
They work.
I'm sorry, Catherine. Sorry.
We're talking in code, Catherine, so you shouldn't be embarrassed.
Uh-huh.
It's video game talk. That's all.
Okay.
It's video game stuff. So don't let me derail you. You guys were talking about spiritual stuff.
You know, I really did like the way you were pointing out. Can we go back to that for a second? Just to look at that. And how you were pointing out that it doesn't matter, you know, about who has sinned before and after. Yeah, that was a new way of looking at that.
Where was I doing it?
Go up higher. It was about 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago. The beginning. I'll see it when you get there. You were pointing out that just because, I mean, since it's already, you know, since he died for all beforehand was the big part, and that we're justified beforehand, and that some are going to come in. It was that scripture where you were able to point out that, you know, some are coming in early, but it doesn't matter. Where was that?
That's verse 21.
Okay.
Yeah, the righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all. And it happens to be on all at the moment who are believing. But there's no distinction between the believing and the non-believing.
Man, that is incredible. There is no distinction. My gosh. You know, and of course, I'm excited because I'm biased because, you know, I believe in these scriptures. I've had some empirical evidence with them, but I believe they've said the opposite of what they're saying right here. So to me, I understand if it's no big deal, anyone listening that, you know, I totally get it, believing in some stupid book. I get you. But this is big because it says it right there that, you know, there's no distinction. It's no big deal.
Yeah. So how can we get to the place that we acknowledge there's no distinction? Because we're all tribal and we want our tribe to win.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, man. We sure are.
I'm rooting for the Atlanta Braves. Who are you rooting for?
Right.
There's no distinction.
Just using that word, I think it's so cool when someone snaps out of this social media matrix of watching stupid videos or playing stupid video games all the time, and they realize, man, I could Google and look up this word tribalism. Like, what do they mean by that? And then you can see all the history and see all the experiments and all the examples, and then you start realizing, man, we're just not that special. We're pretty predictable. We pretty much do the same things all the time, and anyone standing afar off watching us move about as ants could pretty much win every bet on what we're going to do next collectively. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Shit, there's cops outside. I don't like cops.
Oh my goodness.
Now I want more explanation about the adrenaline.
You got to take that Palestinian flag down, Cade.
Well, they're going to the neighbors, so it's probation, so it's okay. I'm done with mine, so I'm good.
For all sinned, and all are wanting of the glory of God, and all are being justified gratuitously in his grace. Hot dog. This sounds like a happy message. I don't know why the Christians get so pissed.
Boy, what in the world? That is so glaring, for there is no distinction. That is so, I mean, could you use fewer words to say the same thing as powerful? I'm always looking for, I think the fewer the words that says something, the more powerful.
I got 4 words. All is of God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. 4.
Oh, I got 3 words. God is one.
Yeah. There you go.
That would cover it.
And you can always fall back to the, Charlton Heston moment. There's I am.
Right. 2 words. There we go.
That's as far as I can get.
What's that verse where it says, "Yet all is of God"? Do you know where exactly that is, guys?
2 Corinthians 5:18.
Okay, you're good at that. Uh-huh. Cool.
And there's 3 other places where that phrase shows up as well. But that's a fine place. 2 Corinthians 5:18. All is of God.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's see. How would someone try and tear this apart here, this verse 22? How would a Christian try to get around this? You got a righteousness to...
I don't know. They mostly ignore it because it clearly says there's no distinction between the believing and the unbelieving. And they certainly make distinctions.
Yeah, they latch onto that, on all who are believing, but this is a part of this. This is a part of the subject. It's one of the 2 things being emphasized here, right? Am I right?
Jesus Christ's faith for all. Oh, I get it. So the subject is Jesus Christ's faith. And all these other little phrases.
Well, I would say the subject is the righteousness of God, and it's on
you
both
are right.
parties.
You are right. The subject is the righteousness of God.
But this is an all, though, another all that, say, Jill would have to try to get rid of. Jesus Christ's faith for all. I'm assuming that includes the people on the cross that he said, "Father, forgive them."
Oh, very good. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Excuse me.
You're excused. You're so proper, Catherine. Keep it up. It's good.
It is?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. It's refreshing.
We like our polite women.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Remind
thought verse 5, how you talked about God doing a wrong, was interesting, because that's only from the human perspective, right? Because God doesn't actually do anything wrong, but it's considered wrong from a human perspective.
Now, if our injustice is commending God's righteousness, what a statement that is.
Now say that again now.
Verse
Where's
5.
it? Verse
Verse
5.
5. What brings about God's righteousness? Our injustice brings it about.
Oh crap.
Thank
Wait a
God we're
second.
sinners.
Wait a second here.
Yes.
Wait
Which
a
which
second.
he made those vessels of injustice. So it's kind of complicated, but
What's commending? If we break down that word, I mean, I know I guess it means what it means. Commending, like praising, right?
Or
Praising
like
for a deed.
recommending, if I recommend this piece of pie.
For a reason.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Our
So-
injustice is that which brings God's righteousness about.
when you were first,
It's
you were
weird.
saying, oh, sorry, go ahead.
We would think that our righteousness would bring about God's righteousness. Because that's human thinking. That's religion. That's man-made religion. Two wrongs don't make a right. If you want God's attention, behave yourself. Be a just person. Operate in justice. That would commend God's righteousness to you. That's human thinking, but this Pauline teaching is just the opposite. Our injustice is commending God's righteousness.
Yeah. So
And
what? Now, why would he ask this question? What shall we? Is he being facetious here? What shall we declare?
yes, it's a rhetorical question. He knows that the religious are going to freak out right about now.
Okay. Now I know they're going to jump today. They're going to jump on this. God, who is bringing on indignation, is unjust.
Yeah.
They're going to jump on that, but I think this is being used as, it seems to me that it is what he's trying to say is that God is the one that's bringing on the indignation, but he's also the one that's causing all of this to be as it is. Anyways, hence he had to justify us all.
That's how I'm seeing it too, Cade. That makes sense. Because it sounds like Romans 9 later on, talking about the indignation God carries with great patience. God who is bringing on indignation, could he be unjust in doing that?
It's a sideshow. The real glorious thought is that our sins bring about God's righteousness.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he explains in Romans 9. He says that he creates these vessels of indignation to highlight the vessels of mercy, which Christ would be the greatest example of that.
And then
yeah.
3 verses later, in verse 8, he brings up the very argument of our opposers who say, you guys are saying we should be doing evil that good may be coming. And then he gives them a little hat tip and says, I understand why you're saying that, because it's such a mind-blowing concept that our injustice would bring on the righteousness of God. So, Kate, let me read the whole thing to you since you just got in late.
Sure.
Now, if our injustice is commending God's righteousness, what shall we declare? Not that God, who is bringing on indignation, is unjust. As a man, I'm saying it may not be coming to that. How else shall God be judging the world? Yet, if the truth of God superabounds in my lie, and the James gang was calling Paul a liar, if the truth of God superabounds in my lie, why am I also still being judged as a sinner? Why not say according as some say, as we are calumniated, as some are averring that we are saying, that we should be doing the evil that good may be coming, whose judgment is fair. What then? Are we privileged? Undoubtedly not, for we previously charged both Jews and Greeks to be all under sin. So back off. We said all are under sin, and it's this sin that we are all under that commends God's righteousness. According as it is written, not one is just, not even one, not one is understanding, not one is seeking out God. All avoid him at the same time. They were useless, and not one is doing kindness. There's not even one. A sepulchre opened is their mouth, their throat. With tongues they defraud. The venom of asp is under their lips. Whose mouth with imprecation and bitterness is crammed, sharp are their feet to shed blood. Bruises and wretchedness are in the way of peace they do not know. There is no fear of God in front of their eyes. Now we are aware that whatever the law is saying, it's speaking to those under the law, that everyone should now shut up, that every mouth may be barred. Please shut up. Let me get to the real point. And the entire world may become subject to the just verdict of God, because by works of law, no flesh at all shall be justified in his sight. For through the law is the recognition of sin, yet now, apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifest, being attested by the law and the prophets, yet a righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all, and on all who are believing, for there is no distinction.
Man. There is no distinction. Man, that helps you out so much in your relationships. I'm telling you, in your interactions with people. You know, it removes a lot of frustration or false expectations too, because you know everyone, their nature, and you give a lot more allowance. You know, I'll just let that go. Who cares? I know why they're doing what got triggered, what sensor went off.
Yeah, when you say there's no distinction, that's where I get my favorite little phrase. There's not a dime's worth of difference between me and
That's right.
so and so.
We're all irreverent.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
verse you were talking about earlier, I tried to say something, but I realized my microphone was turned off. The
All
commending,
of God.
Don't tell me God doesn't pray.
at commending, I thought of this as that maybe it means unveiling. If our injustice is unveiling the justice of God, what shall we declare? That kind of makes sense. Commending and unveiling. You wouldn't want to say it's declaring, because it says declare twice if you do it that way.
It seems like all these things are for the benefit of our perspective. That right? Because God knows everything. So these
Yeah,
Our
this is what I
injustice. Go ahead.
Gabriel. You sound like your dad for a minute, huh? When he's really gonna talk serious to you.
maybe my mom, yeah.
Or your mom. Gabriel. No, I was gonna say this is seriously, like, I know that Christians hear this belief, right? And I know what they're thinking. They're like thinking, oh man, these guys, they're thinking God wants people to sin. Like God's getting excited, you know, is happy about it, or takes some joy, or he wants people, you know what I mean? They can't process it. But the way I see it is everything's being used, all man's life and their individual, you know, to them, these little individual experiences. So at the end, there is no way you would ever say that there's any way that there's only one God, and that he's awesome, and that his ways are incredible, and that you now know that all those bad experiences all happened. And it could have been all kind. You could have been a murderer. You could have been a victim of a murderer. You know, you could have played it there, just like that scripture says, that there's no difference, right? There's no difference. So God has put this all, woven this all together, all these experiences beforehand, has it on rails, and it's just like dominoes. And yet each one of them is customized because he numbers the hairs on our heads.
Mhm.
And so these bad things that happen are exactly what you need, because one day God is going to be all in you. One day before that, you're going to be a part of his son's body, maybe if you're chosen to play this role. Well, you've got to experience these things so they will never happen again, ever. And the only way is not behavior changing, is the thought changing that, you know what, there is one God and this is his son.
Mhm.
And if they were not, then I would not be here. And all these things happen perfectly, and now they will never happen again. And we're on our way now, very soon, for God to be all in all. That's coming next.
Yep.
So they're being done. God doesn't. I mean, but they must be done. And if they must be done, why not customize them and get as much value out of these things, for each individual person? You must suffer in order to learn. There's no other way.
It seems like the necessity of to do a creation, God being all in himself before creation, and then he makes creations, and then how are those creations new creations? There has to be context. Like Adam and Eve had no appreciation for the knowledge of good and evil before
Exactly.
they did that, and just like us, or say Judas, he happened to get a bad role in the stage play on the way to the all in all, but he's going to be a distinct creation of God with a certain experience, and God will be all in him. So this is just how God creates, and we're finding out about it, especially through Paul.
Yeah. And he's allowing, like you said, the key thing to grasp, and it's hard. It takes, it doesn't take, it's just God seems to drool it out to me. I still marvel at it. Is this, like you said, it all started with God being one. There's nothing else but him before he creates. So I love what you said, how can it be a new creation? He's got to create context, as you said. And so that means he also has to limit knowledge, or else you couldn't seek and find it, because it's all started out with one God.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is, and we're still just pieces of him, right? I mean, it still is just one God. We're just part of his creation. He's doing something here, and we happen to be a part of it.
Exactly. And we're just finding out about it.
In a sense, he's all in all, but he's declaring that before it happens.
Yeah.
And I like his ideas. I mean, just stop and think about it. His idea of family, that's beautiful.
Yep.
And his idea of overcoming. Well, you can't have that. Don't you love it when you overcome a struggle? Like when the odds are against you? That is my favorite. Man, I'm always for the underdog too. Always.
Well, men especially like to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know about women.
But you would never have this beautiful feeling of accomplishment and this beautiful feeling of overcoming without some damn suffering in between feeling like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do about that? Christians? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean,
Catherine sighs.
What's that?
You were sighing.
Was I?
We're
back.
got to overcome.
Did you just wake up? Catherine, did you just wake up?
She's going without coffee.
No, I was about to go, but you asked me a question. I've been up since 4:30 a.m.
And you're 12. You're a day and a half.
5 minutes past 1 p.m. now. So, yeah, I'll be back in a sec, guys.
14 hours difference.
Yeah, so it's really Tuesday for her, isn't it?
Yeah.
About now?
Yeah.
I think so. Australia.
Is New Zealand right straight below her, or is it off to the east even further? I think it's even more of a distance in time to New Zealand. Yeah. Philippines is exactly 12 hours. I know that from my wife. 12 hours difference there.
But is it a curved flight path or a straight line?
You have to fly over Alaska many times from New York to get to the Philippines. So you tell me.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Oh man.
Jamie Russell's in the side chat. Haven't seen him around here in a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Man of the hours there. He's trying to get back in. Should we let him back in? He promises not to quote.
I'm just wondering. I'm wondering, Red. I had this thought too. I'm enjoying being able to talk about him in third person for a moment. Let me just have a second. But I'm serious though. I really think maybe, and then when he comes back in, he can tell me if that's what he's feeling. He might be feeling like, man, every time we're talking, he's sitting in that back room. He has all these ideas of why that's not true and that's not true. And he just has this overwhelming desire to correct it for anyone listening out there in the internet land or whoever watches the recording. Maybe that's what's happening. Am I right? I don't know.
I think we've all been there.
Cade, you got a really good radio voice. Have you been told that?
Never.
Yeah,
Never.
right. I don't believe that.
I think he's being facetious.
I've been told it's great waking up to this voice.
Okay.
Long time ago.
No. Who said that?
Oh, we
No,
don't have to.
I don't say yes or no. I'm just saying, why did you jump to a long time ago? Are you projecting on me?
No, I didn't know that you might have a recent relationship.
Well, I didn't say that either. I'm just saying you jumped to a long time. I'm feeling sorry for you.
Just pray for me. I don't think I've ever been told that.
Yeah. Well, what shall we declare?
That God is unjust.
He is righteous.
Not be coming to that.
God is justified. He is righteous. He has enough faith to see us through.
You know, I'm so glad you started this show. I was just sitting here. I was staring out this window and I was thinking about things and frustrations and stuff. And I was thinking, man, it'd be so good if there's a bunch of people talking about Jesus right now. And I'll be damned if you weren't streaming like for 20 minutes. It was fun. And then I kept listening and I was like, yeah. And then you turned on the link thing and everyone showed up and then Predators was there. And I was like, praise Jesus.
He can't help it. But what if some disbelieve? Will not their unbelief nullify the faithfulness of God? Oh, say it isn't so. Now let God be true, yet every man a liar, even as it is written, so thou shouldst be justified in thy sayings and shalt be conquering when thou art being judged. So
Jamie Russell got a wrench again.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We haven't heard him on the inside of the show for a while.
Jamie's got a wrench.
So Jamie did it in the library with a wrench.
Oh, Jamie's crying.
Oh, man.
Because Jamie's been in love before, and he knows.
Hey, you know, I saw some fresh content. You know how people create content on YouTube and everything and get lost in this whole land of interest. But I saw a trend coming up, which is taking moments. They're I'm assuming they're grabbing all this footage. I have a box that was like $600 to convert all my 8mm family tapes to digital. And I bet you a lot of families have done that because now a trend is starting on YouTube and it's very fun to watch and it's eye-opening. They're showing clips of the 80s and the 90s, all the teenagers and the college kids and the dominance of males in school, and they're all laughing and having fun. It is amazing. No, I mean it's so like, oh my God, I grew up in that.
That was back before everything became so serious.
Oh, you can see it though in the kids' faces, man. They are
Yeah.
free. They are
right.
lighthearted. They're laughing. The girls are with the guys. The girls
So what
think
the
the guys
hell?
are
So
awesome.
what the hell happened?
Social media, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Feminism 50 years ago. It's been being drilled. Yeah, 50 years of feminism.
I had the best fucking time in school when I think back. Oh my God.
Yeah, I
I didn't
graduated
like
in
being.
88.
I didn't like being in there, but I. 88, Cade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in 83, but I didn't graduate. I missed. I failed U.S. civics, politics.
Yeah.
And so it's a required course in Arizona, so I didn't graduate.
That's okay. Me too. I knocked like 3 teeth out of a dude, and they gave me 2 weeks suspension or something. And I was in a night class, and I didn't graduate either.
Yeah, I went to a 9-keg party the night of graduation.
Yeah, I just got a letter from my 3rd grade class. They want me to come and retake 3rd grade.
They want you to wear a dunce cap, Ace.
That's another trend forming, by the way, is
remember the dunce caps, Cade?
Yeah.
Did they have those?
No, I got paddled, but I never got. There was never no one.
You used to wear like a cone thing on your head.
Really?
They push you in the corner. Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
I had a teacher that would draw a circle on the wall and make you stand there with your nose in it.
Ace, did they have the dunce caps in your school when you were growing up?
No, they didn't.
Oh shit.
I had a football coach that would literally put the front of his or the top side of his shoe across your ass so hard if you were on the line and you were, doing something wrong with your stance. Yeah. Child abuse, man.
Yeah.
I'm broken.
I did get a spanking with the paddle from the principal for at least once, maybe twice.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot of them. I went to private Christian schools. They paddled.
Oh my goodness,
They would show you the paddle with the holes in it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Public schools. I had up here a public school right up the street. I'm in my hometown right now, and oh yeah, he had the whole drilled holes through the paddle hanging on the wall. Yep. And you know what? It worked, man. Everyone was intimidated to get in that much trouble. Freaking worked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bad kid. I was a horrible kid. Just a horrible kid.
Really? I don't believe that.
Just a horrible kid. An outlaw hanging out in bars with the Amish pole dancers and oh yeah.
That's great.
Just a horrible kid. Yeah.
Wow.
Midgets in the back room at happy hour, taking shots of brandy.
You're making all this up. It sounds like a made-up thing.
Yeah.
You know,
smart ass.
You know what I'm thinking of? Now that you're done, that was good though, Sean. I liked it. Great visuals. Great visuals, man. So the thing is, let's see if this doesn't strike you as true. Did you ever go to a Christian school and a public school, or did you all public?
No, Mom did send me to Christian school, I think in the 1st grade or something like that. I went one year. That was it.
Yeah, I had sparse like a year here and then a couple years at this school, and then back to public school.
Yeah.
But anyways, I do notice that the public schools, when it came to spanking, They didn't do this stupid like schedule this shit for the next day. It was immediate. You know, if you made it to the principal's office, I mean, there's no getting out of this.
Right.
If you're found guilty, you're getting stripes right there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Christian schools, man, I got the opportunity to wear like 10 pairs of underwear for the next morning spanking. It was dumb. I would fake scream and jerk.
Oh my gosh.
Now, how does he do that? He makes his do you think you're funny as to be bold? How do you make your name to be bold? Get Control B for bold. That's pretty cool. Yeah, think you're funny.
In the side chat.
He's pretty
Yeah.
creative. He got a laugh. He got a chuckle out of that. How do you do that? Man, I'm an IT guy, and I can't tell you how he did that to make it show up. And he might have a another program or something, or it might be a simple.
It might be Bill. Bill knows how to do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Bill has cool designs on his channel. I love that.
Oh, CME.
Remember that one where he put a pipe in the guy's mouth? It was cool.
Yeah. Dinosaur with a T-Rex with a pipe.
Yeah. Like Ace used to say, a short-armed god. The Tyrannosaurus Rex with little tiny arms.
When did you hear him say that? I think I've heard that in past.
He said, "Oh, you guys have the short arm god with little tiny hands, little Tyrannosaurus Rex with these little tiny hands and shit."
What
And
are
he
you
goes,
guys talking about? Oh
Well,
my
you know that
goodness.
scripture that says the arm of the Lord is.
yeah, too
Bill-
short. Too
Bill
short
from
to
UK
say.
come on, and his whole background was filled up with this T-Rex in there with the short arms. It had like a Pope's little monitor on the top of his head. It was funny as hell.
What the hell?
I wish I had a picture of it, but
It was funny.
Well,
he was very creative.
my son and I have been listening now to this channel and this craziness for so long. We catch ourselves saying some of Ace's lines, like,
Yeah. It kind of grows on you after a
they
little
come
while.
out in front of customers and everything,
You can't help it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll look at each other and laugh, because we know the inside joke.
Why is it, everyone, that Ace and I are the only ones on cam? Just saying.
My cam's not very good. Look how fuzzy I am.
I have a pimple on my nose and I don't want to show it off because I'm full of vanity.
Yeah.
I'm doing a
Yeah.
legal activity and I'm trying to see my kids. I haven't seen in a year, so shut mine off.
I think my camera was just dirty. Look at that. It was just dusty.
Look at Red.
I'm
Hey,
all happy.
Red is red.
You are red.
Yep. I'm all happy now. Yep.
That's better. Much better, actually. I felt it a little bit alone.
Too comfortable.
I'm out in the dark. You can't really see much.
Yeah, where are you, Gabe? No, I'm kidding.
Just pacing around on my sidewalk at night.
Of course.
Okay.
And Red turned it into an elephant.
Yeah, don't think about the elephant in the refrigerator, We were talking about that earlier.
Okay, I got a question for you guys.
Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
I just rolled up.
So we've been exploring for a couple of years now all the things that Christ accomplished on the cross. So, in a round robin kind of way, you guys got it. What do you think is the greatest thing Christ accomplished on the cross?
Which one? Who? Me?
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead,
I've got
Sean. Go
two.
ahead.
Abolish death.
Wow.
Oh.
That's it for me. I'll just throw my hand in the hat and say that's what I would have said too.
Yeah.
That the result is
And I-
that he accomplished taking sin away. Okay, I've got two. So like would one be like
Well, sin goes with death.
uh-huh.
You
So
don't have
taking
any-
away sin away is a really good one. Yeah,
Well-
like completely. Uh-huh.
Well, if you get rid of death, well, that's just you don't even have to
Yeah.
mention sin. There is no more sin. Sin
Mhm.
is only because of death. You're trying whenever you get mad at someone for not paying a bill, they're taking you need that money to live. They're going to encroach on your and it's short. You only got 80, 90 years. Get rid of death and all. If you start thinking that thought out and applying it to everything, I think everything we do is because we're dying and we want to live or we want to look better. We want a leg up on another person. We don't want someone attacking our character because we only have 80 years here. And if they jack up 10 years of lifespan with a bad reputation, that's death. What if none of that happens anymore? No dying, we wouldn't be doing that.
Guys. Is this a joke? Yeah, I am an Aussie.
Oh, candles. I was trying to figure out what was back up there behind me.
Where are you, man?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm in my cottage with the stairs going up behind me.
Oh, I see.
That's where I store all my goodies back underneath there, like canned goods and stuff underneath the stairs. If I move a little bit there, you can see some canned goods back in the back.
Oh,
Yeah. Gotta get the light just right. Okay.
Sheila from across the ditch.
Trying to figure out what this pot was. I guess something my wife had put up in there.
You're up, Gabe.
He completed his father's creation, so that all of his father's creation will be all in all with his father.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's a good one. I like it.
It is finished. It is accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
an
the
all-encompassing.
a lot of things encompass in that. The law was nailed to the tree.
Yeah.
That means the requirements of the law have totally been fulfilled in Christ. He met every single one of them so that we do not need to meet the requirements of the law anymore.
Hey, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
The new humanity began when he was raised from the dead.
Yeah.
That's nice.
The curtain was
That
torn
is good.
from top to bottom.
Wow, that's true.
And I was going to say, too, I don't know if you might disagree with me, Ace, but I was thinking that, the part where he says the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our God and his Christ.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering when that temple was rent from top to bottom, if that's when that kind of began, because now he has total authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's finished at that point. So yeah, it's not fully manifested yet, but we know the end result, right? Is every knee shall bow and every tongue shall acclaim him. So
claim, not confess.
And between now and then, it's all going to be made right. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's kind of a weird thought, but anyway, I thought about that before.
That's a pretty good weird thought.
Yeah,
that's good. I got one.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was thinking of a contrast weird thought. I pretty much believe, in my opinion, that if preterist is right and I die and I get to show up and get before him again, man, I can just tell you right now, I'm going to say, man, I am so ashamed. I'm sorry. You were absolutely right. My God, it's going to be freaking intense. Now, I started imagining, well, what if it flipped around and we're right I'm right. And he shows up. I swear to God, the first thing that would happen when his eye caught mine, we would both start laughing like crazy. Like, yeah, because you can't say any of that other stuff. Once you both know, you'd be laughing your guts out at that whole, and then you would hug and kiss and, well, the kiss thing. I'm thinking about meeting chicks there. So no, I'm thinking about, kiss on the cheek or whatever. But yeah, it would be instantaneously awesome and fun and great. And you'd be laughing and there would be none of this, the other way has to be that way, with that message.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
How about this one? In Ephesians, it says that every kindred in heaven and earth will be named after him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a direct result of the cross. Can't quite remember the context, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was easy enough to relate. That every kindred, every family throughout heaven and earth will be named after Christ.
Mm-hmm. I interrupted you, Ace. I've got a bad habit of doing it.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just a flaw of mine.
I think it's a flaw of everybody. I think it's a flaw of everybody. I think it takes I'm thinking about doing a class. Hey, Catherine, do you really, I think I heard you say this. That's the only reason I asked. I would never offer such a thing as this. Ace could probably stream it. But I promise you, after 30 minutes, you're saying the word and oh and okay, or repeating the same word over and over. I could get rid of that. I would need like 3 brothers' help.
Why, have you noticed I've been saying that on my streams or something?
Huh?
Have I been saying or oh or whatever else you said?
I don't know. I thought you were asking. You weren't asking it for how to get rid of that? I don't even know if you have it. No,
I don't
it wasn't you?
No, I usually say like this and like that, and instead, and I've got this really bad habit of saying like.
Yeah, but where I was going though is it might not be the filler words, the and the ohs, but also if you struggle with over talking someone or people in general, this would work the same way.
And did you know I'm a really good listener?
Nope. Are you?
I really am.
Well, I would just say that because you were saying that you struggle with interrupting. But that's okay.
Oh, well.
I'd like to interrupt this stream to make an announcement that Happy Go Lucky has a good comment there.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the screen right now.
On the cross, he gave a shout out to the Trinitarians when he cried out to the Father, "My God, my God."
Yeah, see that would be 3, including him. There's the Trinity. My God, and then himself. Right?
No, he's saying that Jesus had a God. In other words, a God does not have another God above him.
Hey, you guys, I like Felix the cat a lot. That's really cute.
Well, guys, it's almost time for me to I got to do something before it's 9 and do my schedule thing. So I think I'll be heading out.
No worries.
Great show. That was fun. I'll talk to y'all later.
God bless you, Cade. Have a good night.
Hey, same.
See you, Cade. Take care,
See
brother.
ya. Where did Ace go? Why is it so black? Who's hosting this show?
Just the 4 of us.
I could have done one of Gabe's dad's videos called "Christians Spit in the Face of Christ's Free Gift." Martin Zender, 1463 MZTV. That would have been a pretty good one. But Ace is not there. Where's he at?
Where did he go?
I don't know if
Okay,
he
I'm
wants
hosting now. No, just joking, guys. Not going to.
He said BRB. He's
Yeah.
sounds like he'll be back in a sec.
Maybe
We'll have to-
grabbing a coffee.
I've had 3 coffees already. I've had enough coffees for the day, I think.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in too much of a coffee high.
No. Yeah, you
I
want
drink decaf, so I don't do the regular coffee.
Caffeine affect you generally, Sean?
Yeah, just yeah. I just like the taste. I throw butter in there and some stevia in.
What? You throw butter in the coffee?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Interesting.
That's called bulletproofing in America.
Ace
You
taught us
guys-
that one there.
Yeah,
You're
Ace
very
taught us that.
polite.
Who's polite?
You, Sean, you say yes, ma'am.
No,
It's
I'm not polite. Don't kid yourself for a minute. I'm a horrible guy.
What?
Yes.
Don't believe it.
Ask
Don't believe
Ace. Ask Little Red. Red came and stayed out
Little
here with
Red?
me. Yeah, Little Red. Our Little Red. No, he's older than me. Shit, man. 8 months or something. Weren't we born from the same mother, Red?
Just about the same mother.
We got lost. We got lost at birth, and we found each other on Ace's program.
Uh-huh.
Little
So
Red
you're lucky.
Riding Paul.
He doesn't want to claim it, so he put up his icon.
Little Red Riding Paul.
I put him
I
on the
like
spot. Little Red Riding. Oh my God. My little buddy.
So what do you two get up to when you get together? No good?
We had that. Go ahead.
Red captured all the. Well, I won't say it. I'm going to shut my mouth. I'll get my ass in trouble.
No, we have some good talks. We're both
Yeah.
coming from a very similar background of he's from the Hutterites, I'm from the Mennonites.
What?
Similar things have happened in our life with our marriages and stuff, and
Yeah.
just a lot of things.
Yeah.
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 Somebody's trying to pick my red nose, huh? Or is that somebody else?
TMI. TMI.
Too much information.
You did ask.
Is Ace coming back anytime soon? Or is,
Yeah, he'll be back.
He said BRB. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be
that
back.
could be like 5 hours from now.
No, he'll be
I
back.
can play Martin Zender's video, but you're not going to see the video. You're just going to hear the voice. It was from a conference in Des Moines, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, we won't do that unless Ace approves it. The cat's away, so the mouse will play.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we want to bring somebody in the show and throw popcorn over top of the person's head. Yeah, that's one of the jokes that me and Sean come up with. We're gonna I want to throw popcorn across the stage, and he's gonna be acting like he's catching the popcorn and then throw it back at me. But somebody else has to be in the middle.
Yeah.
We'll put tonight we'll put Gabe in the middle, but the trouble is we're not lined up.
I'd like some popcorn. I'm going to snatch some of that stuff.
Oh, you'd be reaching up and grab it as it comes across. We'd have to have it perfectly choreographed so that Gabe has a popcorn machine that's spitting popcorn across. I started on one side, throw the popcorn, and Gabe has his machine. It follows it across his screen over to where Sean's
Ace is not going to want to know about this.
Oh God, you guys.
Yep. No, it didn't quite work out when we went out to visit Ace that time. We kind of thought about this ahead of time and said, well, we're going to sneak up behind Ace and be in his show. And one of us is going to throw popcorn across the top of his head. Then we thought,
Yeah, we knew Ace wouldn't like that, but we were thinking of dressing up in ZZ Top outfits and then
Okay, watch
throwing
out,
popcorn.
Sean. Yeah, this is our last 2 minutes on this show ever, I guess. Ace acts like he's not listening to us, but I think he is.
Oh, he hears us. His eyes,
Oh,
his
thumbs
eyes.
up. Oh,
He's,
thumbs
yeah,
up.
look at see, his eyes are glowing, man. He's starting to catch fire. He's like burning. He's got some truth he wants to throw at us. It's heavy. Look at his eyes are glowing, man. I love
I know.
it.
I always comment on that.
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He's practicing for the full body experience in
Yeah.
the Celestials.
Yeah, and he knows jujitsu, so we dare not get too close, man, because he'll
I got something here that would take us up to midnight, Ace. If you want to play Martin Zender, Christian Spit in the Face of Christ's Free Gift. It's about
No.
32 minutes long, but we can
Not
save
now.
it for another day. You're getting too
Yeah.
late. Yeah, we need our sleep too.
Yeah.
So thank
Highly
you,
recommend.
boys and girls, for stopping by. We're going to close up shop. I'll put
Mhm.
the after show link in so you can come in and hang out with these knuckleheads.
Gosh. Okay.
Look at Catherine. She's trying not to laugh, but she's really wanting to. She's
I am kind of laughing.
these she's like, yeah, these northerner boys, boy, they need some treatment. We need to get them straightened out.
Yes, exactly.
I'd love to go to Australia at least once in my life, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see that place.
Didn't
My
you know
friend-
it's dangerous though?
Well, my friend lives down there. He lives on Corolla Beach right by Sydney.
I'm just joking.
It's not dangerous. No way.
That's what my Polish brothers say. They say it's dangerous. It's so funny.
No, it's not.
I know. I lived to 45 years old, so there you go.
I've got Scottish relatives all over the world. So
Hmm.
America, Australia, England.
Mhm.